Yes, dear students, welcome to today's class. So that now we have reached towards the end of this lesson. You have to concentrate more on each concept of this lesson because this is one of the high weightage lesson, and nearly you can expect 10 marks from this chapter, and it is equally important for NEET as well as CET point of view, so that you make yourself thorough with all the concepts coming in this lesson. Yes, let us quickly look into some of the questions. So, our first question is: in which way has the study of biology helped us to control infectious diseases? So, biology is the only branch where we are studying about living organism, because this branch deals only about the living organism. So that the biology help us to get detailed information about causative organism of various infectious diseases. So we can collect the information regarding the name of the pathogen and to which category that pathogen is belonging to. So these some information can be collected from this branch. Then one more is it helps us to know how pathogen spreads. So we have seen there are different mode of spreading of pathogen. So this information can be easily gathering by studying biology. Then one more is vaccine have been raised against deadly disorders. So there are number of deadly disorders caused by pathogen. So for those disorder we have vaccine. For number of disorders we have already have vaccine like polio vaccine, then tetanus vaccine. So these medicines are useful to prevent some of the deadly disorder. So invention of vaccine is possible because of the study of biology. Then one more is invention of newer and better drugs for various diseases. So if we know the better information regarding the life cycle of pathogen, it will help us to invent new and better drugs to control most of the disorders. So that invention of drug and vaccine to various infectious diseases is possible because of the help of biology. Let's quickly look into the second question. How does the transmission of each of the following disease takes place? So they have given four different infectious diseases. So first one is amoebiasis. So amoebiasis is a protozoan disease. So this pathogen will spread from infected person to healthy person through contaminated water and food. And sometimes housefly act as a mechanical carrier to carry the pathogen from feces of infected patient towards the food and water what we use. Then one more disease is malaria. So malaria is also a protozoan disease. So this pathogen will be carried through vector. So we have female Anopheles mosquito. This will act as a vector. So it will bite the infected person and it will take up the pathogen through blood meal. And when the same vector will bite the healthy person, it will inject the pathogen into his body. Then one more disease is ascariasis. So ascariasis is a roundworm disease. So this pathogen will be transmitted through contaminated food and water. The next disease is pneumonia. So pneumonia is a respiratory related disorder. That means the main organ affected is lungs here. So this is caused by a bacteria. So how it will spread? So the pathogen related to this disease spreads through contaminated air. That means the aerosol present in the air will carry this disease. So aerosol will be consist of pathogen. If the healthy individual inhale the same air, he will also get the same disease. Then third question is, what measures would you take to prevent waterborne diseases? So here you should understand what is the meaning of waterborne diseases. So which diseases spreads through contaminated water, those kind of disorders are comes under waterborne diseases. So we have seen typhoid and amoebiasis. They are the best example of waterborne diseases. So what measures we could take to prevent these kind of diseases? So one of the way is consumption of pure drinking water. So when the infection is spreading through water, we should have conscious about what kind of water we are drinking. So before drinking water, we should purify it either by using water purifier or by using RO. If these kind of facilities are not there, we can also consume boiled drinking water, because the boiling will destroy most of the pathogen. It is the another way of purifying water. So that always consuming pure drinking water is very good for health. Then, by periodic cleaning of water tank. So the place where we are storing water in our house, that should be periodically cleaned, because if the water is stored in the water tank for a prolonged period of time, that will lead to the formation of some kind of pathogen, so that will leads to some disorders. So for avoiding such a diseases, so we should periodically clean water tank. Then, proper disposal of human excreta. So this is very important, because the improper disposal of human excreta will contaminate most of the water bodies. So for avoiding the contamination of water, human excreta should be disposed in a proper way, and it should not be disposed towards the nearby water bodies. Then one more is avoiding stagnation of water. So this is very important, because the stagnant water is one of the breeding place for mosquito. So that we should be very conscious about if any areas are there nearby our residential area for stagnation of water, that should be cleaned periodically, or we should spray insecticides and pesticides to the nearby ditches and pool or drainage areas to prevent the breeding of mosquito. So by this way we can avoid the contamination of water. So if we avoid the water contamination, that is the best preventive measure for waterborne diseases. Then fourth question is, the following are some well-known abbreviations which have been used in this chapter. Expand each one to its full form. So they have given number of abbreviations. So first one is MALT. So MALT is nothing but mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. So lymphoid tissue. So where we have studied this one? Yes, it is a part of human immune system. So these tissues are responsible for destroying some kind of pathogen in our body. So the tissues responsible for destroying pathogen are named as mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. So this is a part of human immune system. Then let us see the second one, CMI. CMI is expanded as cell mediated immunity. So we have seen the cell mediated immunity is given by T cells. T cells does not produce as any antibodies to destroy pathogen. So here different kinds of cells, they are able to destroy the pathogen. So we have seen the macrophage cells and monocytes. They are the kinds of cells, they will provide cell mediated immunity. So they are belonging to T cell. The next one is AIDS. So AIDS is expanded as acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So acquired is nothing but it is acquired during the lifetime of an individual. It will suppress the immune system of a person, so that it is called as acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. The next one is NACO. So NACO is nothing but National AIDS Control Organization. So this is a kind of organization. It is doing lots of programs all over the country to avoid the spreading of AIDS. Then one more is HIV. So HIV is expanded as human immunodeficiency virus. So virus is nothing but pathogen. So HIV is a pathogen. It is responsible for causing AIDS in human. Yes, our fifth question is, differentiate the following and give example to each. First, we have the differences between innate immunity and acquired immunity. So let us look into the differences between these two kind of immunity. So innate immunity is a kind of inborn immunity, because it is there in our body since from birth. So it is a kind of inborn immunity. But if you look into the acquired immunity, it is not inborn, it is acquired after birth. That means when our body is get attacked with a certain kind of pathogen, our body develops immunity against that pathogen. So that it is not an inborn, it is acquired after birth. Then a second difference is innate immunity is non-pathogen specific. That means it will give protection to our body against all sorts of microorganisms. That means it will give protection against bacteria, virus, fungi. So there is no specificity with regarding the pathogen. But acquired immunity is always pathogen specific. It will destroy only particular kind of pathogen. Here you can take the example of polio vaccine. So when you have been injected with the polio vaccine, your body will develop immunity against that particular disease. So vaccination is a kind of acquired immunity. So acquired immunity is always pathogen specific. Then a third difference is innate immunity provide barriers to antigen. So for giving protection to our body, innate immunity consists of different kinds of barrier like physical barrier, physiological barrier, cellular barriers. So like that, different kinds of barriers will give protection against some sorts of pathogen. But acquired immunity protect our body against antigen by producing B and T cells. So we are knowing that B cell produces antibodies to destroy pathogen, and T cell indirectly help the B cell to produce antibody. So that antigens are get destroyed by B and T cells in case of acquired immunity. Then if you look into the innate immunity, it does not work based on memory. But acquired immunity always work based on the memory. That means it will keep the memory of pathogen in the first attack, so that in the subsequent encounter that memory is utilized for destroying the pathogen. So these are the differences between innate and acquired immunity. So this is very important question. So now let us study the differences between active immunity and passive immunity. So in active immunity, the body produces antibodies against antigen. So naturally, against the antigen, our immune system produces antibodies to destroy it. So when our own immune system produces antibodies naturally to destroy the antigen, that kind of immunity is nothing but active immunity. But in the passive immunity, immune system does not produces antibodies. Instead of that, ready made antibodies are introduced into the body to protect from pathogen. So when ready made antibodies are injected to give protection against the pathogen, that kind of immunity is passive immunity. And active immunity is slow process, because the body require time to produce antibody against antigen. So you can take any example of infectious diseases, so common cold, typhoid. So whenever the pathogen causes these kind of diseases, our body will suffer from disease. So why it will suffer from disease? Because our immune system require time to produce antibodies to destroy the pathogen, so that until the pathogen is going to be get destroyed, our body will suffer from diseases, so that it is a slow process. But passive immunity is fast process, because antibodies are directly injected into the body. So because of this, it is a fast process. Then in the active immunity, we have the example of vaccination. So vaccination, we have vaccination for number of different deadly disorders like polio. We have vaccine, smallpox vaccine we have. So vaccination is a kind of active immunity, because here the dead antigen or inactive antigen is introduced to develop memory cells. So antibodies are naturally producing in case of vaccination. Then passive immunity, you can take the example of mother's milk. Mother's milk consists of a few antibodies. They are directly injected into the baby for giving protection against some kinds of pathogen. Then the sixth question is, how is a cancer cell differentiate from a normal cell? So for understanding how the tumor formation takes place in the body, you should know the differences between normal cell and cancer cell. So let us study the characters of normal cell. So normal cell in the body have the property of contact inhibition. So what is mean by contact inhibition? So because of this property, the normal cell can inhibit the growth of adjacent cell. That means when one cell is come in contact with the adjacent cell, it will inhibit the uncontrolled growth of adjacent cell. So this property is there in all the normal cells. But if you see the cancerous cell, if any of our body cell turn into cancerous cell, they does not have the property of contact inhibition. That means which cell actually lost the property of contact inhibition, that cell will turn into cancerous cell. So normal cell, because of the contact inhibition, it will control the growth of adjacent cell, so that the cell division takes place in a controlled way. But if you look into the cancerous cell, they have lost the contact inhibition property. So because of this, cell division takes place in uncontrolled way. That means they repeatedly divide and form a mass of cell. So that mass of cell formed in any part of the body because of the uncontrolled division of cancerous cell is nothing but tumor. So tumor formation actually takes place by uncontrolled division of cancerous cell. Then one more character of normal cell is they usually do not migrate to different part of the body. So we are knowing that one cell divide and form a two cell. So out of two cell, one cell get differentiated and it will become mature. It will perform some specific function in the body. So that cells, normal cells usually do not migrate from one part of the body to another part. But the cancerous cell usually migrate to different body part. So through the blood, the cancerous cell migrate to different part of the body, and wherever they get lodged in that particular part of the body, it will form tumor. So that the tumor will spread to different part of the body because of this nature. That means cancerous cell usually migrate from one part of the body to another part to spread tumor to all over the body. Yes, these are the few questions I try to solve. But in next few slides of this video, you have a list of questions marks wise. So you try to solve all those questions so that you will come to know what kind of questions can be asked in the board examination.